Have you ever wondered what a busy bee does all day long? Their lives are full of important jobs, exciting adventures, and teamwork. This is the story of a little bee named Bella, and it all begins on a very special morning. The sun was just starting to peek over the green hills, sending warm, golden light across the meadow. Inside a tall, old oak tree, there was a bustling, humming home called a hive. Thousands and thousands of honeybees lived there together. They were a big, busy family, and today was a big day for Bella. She was finally old enough to leave the hive and see the great, wide world for the very first time. She wriggled her antennae with excitement, her tiny bee heart thumping with joy and honestly, a little bit of nervousness. Bella woke up to the sound of a million tiny wings humming a morning song. The air inside the hive was warm and smelled sweet like beeswax and honey. All around her, her sisters were already hard at work. Some bees were cleaning the hexagon-shaped rooms called cells. Others were feeding the tiny baby bees, called larvae. Bella stretched her 6 little legs and buzzed a happy good morning to everyone she passed. She was a worker bee, and her job was about to begin. For weeks she had helped inside the hive, but now she was ready for her most important task, becoming a forager. A forager is a bee who flies out to find food for the whole colony. She couldn't wait to start her new adventure. Before her first flight, Bella had to meet some very important members of her family. First, she saw the magnificent queen bee. The queen is the mother of almost every bee in the hive, and her main job is to lay eggs, ensuring the colony continues to grow strong. Bella gave a respectful little buzz as she passed by. Next, she saw the nurse bees who were gently caring for the new eggs and young larvae. They made sure every baby had enough food to eat. Then, near the entrance of the hive, she met the strong guard bees. Their job was to protect the hive from any intruders, like wasps or other animals, who might try to steal their precious honey. Everyone had a special role to play. Bella felt a surge of pride knowing she was part of such an amazing team. Each bee worked together to make their home safe and successful. The hive was like a busy city, and every citizen knew exactly what they needed to do. From the builders who made the wax combs to the undertaker bees who kept the hive clean, every single job was essential. Bella knew that her new job as a forager was one of the most vital. The food she would collect would feed everyone, from the queen to the tiniest new baby bee. With a final excited buzz, she made her way toward the hive's entrance, ready to join the flight school and learn how to be the best forager she could be. Flight school for a bee is not like a school for people. There are no books or desks. Instead, young bees learn by watching the older, more experienced flyers. Bella watched them carefully. She saw how they warmed up their wing muscles by vibrating their bodies. Then, whoosh, they would launch into the air, soaring gracefully out of the hive. Bella took a deep breath of the fresh morning air. She buzzed her wings slowly at first, then faster and faster until they were just a blur. Lifting off the ground felt wobbly, but soon she was hovering in the air just outside her home. The world looked so big and beautiful from up there. Next, Bella had to learn about a very special bee secret, the waggle dance. This is how bees tell each other where to find the best flowers. An older forager bee had just returned, her legs covered in yellow dust called pollen. She started to move in a figure-8 pattern. The direction of her dance showed the other bees which way to fly in relation to the sun. The length of the waggle part of the dance told them how far away the flowers were. It was like a secret treasure map, and only bees knew how to read it. Bella watched, mesmerized, as the dancer shared her amazing discovery with her sisters. She practiced the little wiggles and turns herself, hoping she would soon have good news to share too. After watching and practicing, it was time for Bella's first real flight. She followed a group of her sisters out of the hive and into the bright blue sky. The wind tickled her wings and the sun warmed her fuzzy body. Flying was the most wonderful feeling in the world. An older bee flew beside her, showing her how to ride the currents of the air and how to avoid things like spider webs. They taught her to use the sun as a compass, so she would never get lost. Bella learned to recognize the landmarks around her home, like the big, shady oak tree and the sparkling, winding creek. She was learning how to be a true explorer. Her training was now complete. Bella felt confident and ready. She knew how to fly, how to navigate, and how to communicate. The world was a giant garden waiting to be explored, and she had a very important job to do. She had a special pouch on her legs called a pollen basket to carry pollen back home. She also had a special honey stomach just for carrying nectar. With her tools ready and her lessons learned, she buzzed a happy farewell to her trainer and flew off on her own. Her very first adventure as a forager for the hive had officially begun, and she couldn't be more excited for what she would find. Bella flew towards a nearby garden that was bursting with color. There were bright red poppies, deep purple lavender, and sunny yellow dandelions. The air was filled with a sweet, sugary perfume. This was exactly what she was looking for. She chose a big, beautiful pink flower to visit first. Carefully, she landed on one of its soft petals. Using her long, straw-like tongue, called a proboscis, she sipped the sweet liquid hidden deep inside the flower. This sweet drink is called nectar. It is the special ingredient that bees use to make delicious honey back at the hive. Bella drank until her honey stomach was full. As Bella sipped the nectar, something magical happened. Tiny grains of yellow dust from the flower, called pollen, stuck all over her fuzzy body. She looked like she had been sprinkled with gold dust. When she flew to the next flower to collect more nectar, some of that pollen rubbed off. This is called pollination. Pollination is very important because it helps flowers make seeds. Those seeds can then grow into new plants and, for some plants, grow the fruits and vegetables that people and animals love to eat. Bella didn't know she was doing such a big job. She was just busy collecting food, but she was helping the whole garden grow. She spent the morning buzzing happily from one flower to the next. She visited a tall, proud sunflower and a patch of sweet-smelling clover. With every flower she visited, she gathered more nectar and spread more pollen. The garden was a wonderful place, full of life. She saw other pollinators at work too. A fluffy bumblebee lumbered past and a colorful butterfly danced in the air nearby. They were all doing the same important work, helping the plants and making the world a more beautiful and fruitful place. Bella felt a sense of belonging, knowing she was part of this busy team of nature's helpers. After visiting many flowers, Bella's pollen baskets were full and heavy. It was time to return home. She remembered her training and looked for the sun to find her way. She flew high above the garden, her little body loaded with treasures for her family. She was so proud of all the nectar and pollen she had collected. This food would help feed her sisters and the new baby bees. She knew they would all be very happy to see her return with such a successful haul. Flying home, she was already thinking about the waggle dance she would do to tell everyone about this wonderful, flower-filled garden. One afternoon, Bella followed a waggle dance that promised a garden full of big, beautiful roses. She flew excitedly towards the location, her antennae twitching in anticipation of the sweet nectar. When she arrived, she saw the roses. They were large and vibrant, just as the dance had described. However, as she got closer, something felt wrong. The air had a strange, sharp chemical smell that overpowered the sweet scent of the flowers. Some of the flowers looked droopy and unwell, and there were very few other insects around. This perfect-looking garden was strangely quiet and still, which made Bella feel uneasy. Ignoring the strange feeling, Bella landed on a beautiful red rose. She tried to sip some nectar, but it tasted bitter and strange. Suddenly, she felt dizzy and weak. Her wings felt heavy, and it was hard to breathe. She looked around and saw a few other bees nearby who were stumbling and unable to fly properly. Bella realized the flowers were coated in something dangerous. The gardener had sprayed pesticides, a poison meant to harm pests, but it was harming the helpful bees too. These chemicals were making the flowers unsafe for her and her friends. She knew she had to get away quickly and warn her family. With all her might, Bella pushed off the poisoned flower. Her flight was wobbly, and she felt very tired, but she knew she had to make it back to the hive. She had to tell everyone to stay away from that dangerous garden. The thought of her sisters getting sick gave her the strength she needed to keep flying. As she flew, she thought about how unfair it was. Bees only want to help the flowers and collect food, but sometimes humans use things that hurt them without realizing it. She buzzed with a mix of fear and determination, focusing on the image of her warm, safe home. When she finally stumbled back into the hive, she was exhausted. She immediately tried to perform a warning dance. It was not a happy waggle dance to share good news. It was a special, frantic dance to signal danger. The other bees gathered around, sensing her distress. They touched her with their antennae, tasting the strange chemicals on her fur, and understanding the threat. Thanks to Bella's bravery, the other foragers knew not to visit the rose garden. The hive was safe for now, but they had lost a source of food. Now the scout bees had a new, urgent mission to find a new, safe place to gather nectar and pollen. The very next morning, the scout bees, the bravest and most experienced foragers, set out at sunrise. Their mission was more important than ever. They needed to find a large, safe source of food for the colony's 50,000 members. Bella, feeling much better after a night of rest, joined one of the search parties. They flew farther than they usually did, past the familiar gardens and meadows. They flew over fields and streams, their eyes scanning the landscape for bright patches of color. The sun climbed higher in the sky, and Bella started to worry. What if they couldn't find enough food for everyone? Just as she was beginning to lose hope, one of the scouts let out an excited buzz. In the distance, Bella saw it. It was a huge field that glowed like a golden sea under the sun. It was a massive field of sunflowers. As they flew closer, they could see that the field stretched on for as far as their bee eyes could see. The giant flowers stood tall and proud, their happy faces turned towards the sun. The air was clean and sweet, with no hint of dangerous chemicals. It was a paradise for bees. There was enough nectar and pollen here to feed their hive for a very long time. The bees celebrated with happy buzzing and joyful loops in the air. They had found their treasure. They immediately began to gather nectar and pollen, and the work felt joyful and easy in this beautiful place. The sunflowers were heavy with sweet nectar, and their large centers offered plenty of rich, protein-filled pollen. Bella filled her pollen baskets and her honey stomach until she could not possibly carry anymore. She felt strong and happy. This discovery meant her family would be well-fed and healthy. It was a huge relief and a moment of pure triumph for the entire search party. Back at the hive, Bella and the scouts performed the most enthusiastic waggle dance the hive had ever seen. They danced with such energy and excitement that soon, hundreds of foragers were ready to fly. They followed the dance map and flew together to the golden field. All day long, the bees worked, turning the sky between the hive and the field into a busy highway. That evening, back in the warmth of the hive, Bella felt a deep sense of pride. She had faced danger, warned her family, and helped find a solution. She understood now that every bee, no matter how small, is important. And by helping flowers, bees help people and the whole planet, making the world a sweeter, more beautiful place for everyone.